Hey everybody, and welcome to the ALDepartment. I'm really excited to be sharing this with you right now. This has been a few months in the making, and I want to give you a little bit of background about who I am, give you a little bit of background about what this channel is now that you found yourself here, and a little bit about what you can expect out of this new project of mine. So, my name is Tyler Myers, and some of you may know me from my past work as the host of the ALD Stories podcast from Bennick. I hosted this for 2 years. I interviewed 30 different people from the Atomic Layer Deposition community, both in research and in industry, as well as made some journalistic videos myself. Others of you may know me from my posts on LinkedIn. There, I talk a little bit about ALD, I talk a little bit about industrial marketing, and I talk a little bit about helping PhDs find non traditional paths outside of research for their careers. And then, of course, some of you may not know me at all. So, for those of you who don't know me, it's nice to meet you and be able to talk to you in this forum. But there are two main things that you should know about me, and one is that I love ALD, and two is that I really love making content. Now, you probably found yourself on this channel because you're interested in some ALD, and maybe you're wondering why I even made this channel. What is my background? Am I qualified to be talking about ALD to you? So I'd like to give you a little bit of background around why this channel exists and why I'm doing it. So myself, I'm just an American guy living now in Finland. I live in a town called Porvoo, which is about 40 minutes outside of Helsinki. And many of you may know that Finland was the birthplace of the ALD patent by Tuomo Sontola back in the 1970s. And so living here is a little bit of a homecoming for me because I did do my PhD in ALD. I did it at CU Boulder in Boulder, Colorado, under the really renowned ALD scientist Stephen George, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with him. While I was at CU, I received a pretty broad experience with ALD. I didn't really have one theme that connected all of my projects, but rather a few like a grab bag, different projects that I worked on. So I did some fundamental work on surface conversion. This was mostly on the conversion of zinc oxide to aluminum oxide via a TMA dosing, trimethyl aluminum dose. I designed a new reactor for our lab. This was an isothermal rotary reactor, and we're doing some MLD work on particles for pharmaceutical applications. I did a little bit of dose modeling for battery applications, and then later on I did a little bit of work on surface smoothing using ALD for optics applications. And midway through my PhD, I kind of learned that research wasn't going to be my end game. Didn't really find the process to be as exciting as I'd hope. I actually found it to be a little bit isolating, and I saw that my passion for science, my passion for research, my passion for ALD, it was beginning to wane a little bit. So it was then when I started working at our medical campus tech transfer office. It's a place called CU Innovations at the CU Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora, Colorado. And it was here where I started basically building out some small scale marketing function for them. Their licensing team was looking for a way to find better leads in industry to help them license the amazing technologies that were coming out of the campus. So I helped them build this email marketing function as a way to reach decision makers in the field, get some conversations going, and hopefully some licenses out of this. And it was through this experience, and it was through my conversations with some decision makers in the medical field that really helped me forge a love for marketing. I loved talking about the technology. I loved finding different angles and framing it in different ways, and thus sent me down the path where I find myself today. So if you flash forward a couple of years from there, and that eventually landed me in Espoo, Finland, at the ALD equipment supplier Bennick, which many of you may be familiar with Bennick. So when I started there, I knew a little bit about marketing, but not so much, but I knew a lot about ALD. But what I knew most when I started is that I really wanted to begin a podcast for the ALD community. I thought this would be a great way of connecting the community, and just really would connect a couple of my passions that I was starting to gain at the medical campus. And what I was happy to learn was that Bennick already had a podcast. It was a podcast called ALD Stories. It had been started at the end of 2020 by Leah Luo, who was the head of marketing there. Although it had been on hiatus for about a year at that point. They did 5 episodes, and then they had put it on pause. So when I started, I proposed, hey, I could take this over. It's something that I was interested in starting anyway, and it sounds like you guys have a great product here for me to begin with. So, let me take a shot at it and see what we can do. And so I started working on the podcast just a couple of months after I started working at Bennick. And yeah, I couldn't believe how amazing of a project it was at the time and what it would actually become from there. I started hosting it and getting some people on that I knew from my own personal network in the past, and reaching out to some new people that I had never had the chance to interact with before. And I still can remember starting it and how nervous I was during the first few interviews, specifically the one I did with Erwin Kessels early on. I remember like sweating, waiting for him to pop onto the call. But seriously, the ALD Stories podcast was one of the most rewarding projects that I had ever worked on. I mean, personally, for me, it combined my love of learning about people and my want for deepening my understanding of our ALD field in a way that like really I never could get by just doing research. And it became my way of staying updated on what was happening in the field. It became my way of contextualizing the technology and in a lot of different aspects. And I hope that for the community that I could show another side to our field, a side that wasn't just talking about compelling research that people were doing, but also uncovering the motivations and the passions that made the ALD community one that is, I think, the most welcoming and comfortable scientific community that one could actually be part of. So I did the podcast for about 2 years. The podcast really started to take on a life of its own. I mean, we interviewed a bunch of incredible professors, Mikko Riittala from University of Helsinki. We talked to people from awesome national labs like Jeff Elam from Argonne National Lab, some really innovative people from industry like Erling Dameron at Forge Nano. We talked to Jonas Sundqvist at Helix Labs. And then we even created some investigative videos like my video about the evolution of the ALD reactor. And as I was working on this and gaining more and more experience and more depth into ALD, I knew that we could go a lot deeper than where we were. But of course, making this podcast in the context of Bennick's business. So I began to think about spinning off a new channel that could address the entire breadth of topics that could be included under the ALD umbrella. So here we are today. I mean, there are already some amazing community-led resources to learn about ALD. You have things like the Atomic Limits database from the mines at Eindhoven, including Erwin Kessels, that has incredible database on ALD processes. They just released a new version of their reviews database. There's the Finland-led Virtual History of ALD project that's led by Riikka Purinen at Aalto University. Of course, there's the new Atomic Layer Deposition.com website that just came out about 2 years ago that has tons of information about jobs, about new titles of ALD papers coming out. The podcasts were uploaded on there. And of course, there's the myriad webinars, educational events, and these things that are coming from industry. I wanted to start this channel to build on all of this even more. So what will you find on the AL department? I hope that I can bring videos that kind of run the gamuts on all of ALD topics. I want to give information about all aspects of ALD that I can, from educational videos on how ALD works to interviews with key opinion leaders in the field, to even commentary on news and advances in the technology, and even how ALD is being affected by geopolitics, for example. I'd also like to throw in a few entertaining videos in there. We all have our opinions on the technology. I think it'd be fun to do something like a tier list of the best types of ALD, for example. And of course, while I have my own desires and ideas for the content on this channel, in the spirit of this community being so tight and so interested in everything that's happening, I want this to remain something that's by and for the community as well. So please, all ideas and suggestions on things that you'd like to learn about ALD, I am really happy to start looking at some videos for them. And you might be wondering about the name. I chose this name as an homage to the hashtag that the ALD community uses on Twitter and LinkedIn. So we use this hashtag ALDep, of course, Atomic Layer Deposition. And I wanted to make sure that was included in the name of this channel. And I wanted to maintain this connection with our field and make the channel feel like it's a section of our community. For me, at least, this harkens back to your days in academia, being part of a chemistry or an engineering or physics department at a university. And now globally, we can all feel part of this one department, the global department of atomic layer deposition. So that is where the name comes from. I hope to publish maybe 2 to 3 shorter videos a month, with always some like longer content being worked on in the background. One thing I should note is that all of the opinions and information that you see on this channel are going to be my own. Of course, I have a position with the equipment supplier Forge Nano now, so I want to be clear that everything on this channel is from Tyler Myers, from Ty My, the ALD guy, as my Twitter handle says. But yeah, I will try to keep a nice stream of content coming on to the channel. Again, this is as much my way of contextualizing and understanding our field as it is a resource for the ALD community. So I hope that there's some mutual benefit for all of us with this. So if this all sounds interesting to you, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. Please post some comments on the videos and share the ALDepartment with everyone you think that might love to learn about ALD or get a little bit deeper understanding if they already do know about ALD. So thank you very much for listening to this video, for being here for the introduction, and for having supported me with the ALD Stories podcast, and for supporting me now with this channel. I really can't wait to start dropping some new videos for you all here. I'm really, really excited to be launching this project and to be bringing some fresh ALD content to all the ALD lovers out there. So I hope to see you in the rest of these videos and hope that we can connect in the comments. So thanks so much and enjoy the channel. Welcome to the ALDepartment.